Yo, what is going on, guys? Maris here with a brand new video, and today we are looking at Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox One and comparing it to Xbox Series X. Now, I haven't had my Series X for very long, but I wanted to try a couple things because I do enjoy Cyberpunk, and I am curious to see how it was compared to the Xbox One version, especially being that the console is much more powerful, so technically it should be able to run the game more. The first thing I noticed was the loading time was so much better on Series X. Just going from the main menu to loading into the game, it probably took less than 5 seconds. I couldn't even record it, that's how quick it was. Compared to on my OG Xbox One, whenever I would play, it literally took about 2 minutes just to load into the game because it was going so slow. That was the first thing that I noticed. The second thing that I noticed was how smooth it just ran. Everything seemed so seamless. The loading didn't really seem to be an issue, which I was a huge fan of because I know on Xbox One, you would always get some weird stutters and just some issues, especially if you're going from V's apartment just down to the road. You would have these weird like graphical errors and some stuttering. It felt like it was running at like 15 to 20 frames per second, which is still playable. I'm not that big of a guy on FPS, but just being able to tell how much of a difference it is on the Series X is outstanding, and it's making me very hopeful to see what they put in patch 1.5 to see how they really iron out some of these issues. The first real issue that I did have whenever I loaded into Series X was that the car was floating whenever I did call it, which of course this game is known to being buggy. I didn't really expect anything different. I just thought it was really funny that I haven't really experienced that many issues on Xbox One whenever I do run the game, and as soon as I load my Series X and I go ahead and play, the first thing that happens is I get a really weird graphical bug. I just thought it was pretty ironic. But I do want to show you guys a shot of me walking through the apartment in both the original Xbox, and then we'll compare it to the Series X. So if you're looking at the original Xbox, you'll see how it kind of looks a little grainy and fuzzy. You can see the compression isn't that great. There's some weird issues with the characters and their faces and the models. It just doesn't look that great. There's a lot going on, you can tell, and it's just kind of how it's always been on the Xbox One, where as soon as you're out, you just want to get away from that as soon as you can, so that way the game at least feels a little bit smoother. It's like it's running a little bit better because there's not as many assets trying to load. It's just much more refreshing once you finally get past the first little crowd in V's apartment. Now when we compare it to the Series X, you can tell everything's nice and smooth. There's not really any loading issues. There was one NPC that kind of loaded last second as I was turning around, like it tried to load whenever I had my back turned, but I'm not going to hold that against it because there's no real stutter or stopping. It's all pretty smooth and seamless, and it looks so much nicer. That's the first thing you're going to be able to tell from looking at this footage. It's just much more clean and cut, and I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with the next little update, how they're going to finish optimization and really try and polish off the product. I'm really curious to see what they have in store for it. It's supposed to be a full-on next-gen upgrade, and just looking at the graphics alone without any type of next-gen upgrade, it looks amazing. This game looks and feels really good, minus, of course, any kind of bugs and glitches that you will find. So I've been nothing but impressed so far, and it only continues as I'm driving around. We'll do this as well for this one. Driving around feels so much more different, and you can see the footage back to back. Starting with the Xbox One, it's kind of chunky, it's weird. The handling feels late, so when you turn, it's like it's turning like a millisecond or two afterwards. The latency on that just feels weird. I saw a comment on one of my older Cyberpunk videos say you just kind of put up with the driving, and I think that's pretty accurate actually. You just kind of deal with it. It's not that horrible. It's not great, but it's not bad. Especially when we compare it to the Series X, you'll see just how different it truly is. That's the only way I can put it, is just it's different. The same game, the same car, but it feels different. It feels better, it feels smoother, and that does have to do with the frame rate, of course, but it feels more responsive as well, and I feel like I'm actually in control of the car for the most part. I don't know, it's just super interesting to see the differences. It almost feels like a whole different game, but then your brain tells you, no, this is the exact same game. You know where everything is, you know how to play this, and I don't know, it's just really weird to try and relearn how to drive and how to handle it, and just looking at all the scenery as you drive across, and you're like, I don't remember it looking this nice. And that's just the huge difference, and that's always going to be the huge difference between the game that they've put out for the Xbox One and the Series X. I hate to say it because I am an advocate that this game can be played on old gen. It's just the state of the game currently, and that's the only way to put it, especially with the shortage of PS5 and Series X's. It's really hard for people to get their hands on that console and then play this game in a pretty good state. Same goes for PCs. If you have a pretty low tier PC like myself, it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to actually run this game. I don't know. I'm just curious about the future and really what's next for them, because when I was just doing this video, I didn't think it would be that drastic, but as soon as I, just loaded up for the first time, my first reaction was just, wow, this is not the same game that I remember. This this is not the same game that I recognize. This is not it. This is something completely different, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I think that speaks a lot more for the hardware than the actual game itself, as there's no real optimization for the game. This is all the hardware putting in the work. I'm just super excited for the future. I cannot wait for patch 1.5. I will be eagerly awaiting it as much as you guys, just to see how much they change the game, especially for old gen. I'll have to break out the old Xbox One more time to see if it's finally as good as what they originally promised. I'm hoping so, but you never know, and I'm not going to hold that against any of the game designers. This is not their fault, of course. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Can you see the difference as much as I can? Or maybe are my eyes just being tricked because I want it to look that good? Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.